For this video, I'm going to be reusing geometry from another part in this part. The first method I'm going to demonstrate specifically avoids creating external references. First thing I'm going to do is mirror this body so that we can see the entire geometry and fit it to the other body. So let's take a look at the part we're going to be inserting into this part. So I've isolated only the geometry we want to use, and we're going to insert this part as a body into the other part. We'll go to Insert Part. We'll browse to the file and open it, and then we'll place it at the default location. And we'll scroll down. There's a couple of options here. The first one is if we want to open the Move Copy Feature dialog box once we accept this. And we're going to want to move this, so we'll go ahead and accept that. The other thing I'm going to check here is the break link to original part. The reason why I want to check this is to prevent any external references from being created. Then we'll enter some coordinates to move this body. I have a good idea what will get us pretty close to center. So now that we have the body located about where we want it, I'm going to insert another Move Copy feature to make sure it's centered. We'll go to Insert, Features, Move Copy. I'll select the body I want to move. Instead of doing a translation, I'm going to do a constraint. I'm going to select a point that's centered on the body and made it to a plane that's centered in the part. Now everything should be centered properly. The next thing I'm going to do is cut away as much of this body as I can using a cut extrude. I'll change this to wireframe and then zoom in on the geometry I want to work with. We'll start a sketch on the right plane, and I'll use the other body as a reference while I trace the geometry. I'll change this back to shade with edges, and then we'll zoom to fit, and I'll insert a cut. We'll select Through All, Both. Looks like the arrow is going the wrong direction, so I'll flip the side to cut. And then I'll select the body I want to cut. For the next step, we want to remove the geometry of this body from this body. I'm going to show two methods of doing that. The first one is through using the Combine feature. Holding Control, I'll select the two bodies, right-click, and select Combine. The first option here is to add the bodies. The next one will be to subtract the bodies. This is the one we're going to want to use. I'll go ahead and deselect these options here so we make sure we have the right body selected. For the main body, it's going to be the body I want to keep, which is going to be the handle. For the bodies to subtract, it'll be this body. We can select Show Preview, and you can see the resulting geometry. We'll go ahead and accept that. As you can see, we've removed the geometry from one body to another. I'll go ahead and undo this. This time, we're going to do the same thing, only we're going to use the indent feature. This allows you a few different options. So in this case, this is going to be our target body, and this will be our tooling body. We're going to want to cut one part away from the other. There is another option here where we can actually add clearance in between the two bodies. For now, we'll just leave that at 0, and we'll accept it. One of the main differences between this feature and the other one is this one allows you to keep the tooling body, as you can see here. So for now, we'll just hide that and take a look at the geometry we've created. Another method I want to show you of removing geometry from one part to another is going to be the cavity feature. In this case, I have a very similar setup that you saw before, only now we're in context of an assembly. This particular method will create external references. The first thing I'm going to do is edit the part that I want to change the geometry of. This time I'm going to go to Insert, Features, Cavity. I'll select the component I want to use to remove geometry with. The other option here is to add a percentage in which it would scale the cut from the other part. This is a good way to add clearance if necessary. We'll leave that at 0 and accept this for now. Now if we open this part and take a look at it, you'll see very similar geometry that we had before. Not that it pertains to this particular geometry, but another feature I want to show you is the ability to join two parts into one within an assembly. For that, we'll start a new part altogether. Make sure we're editing that part. And then we can join two parts together into one by going to Insert, Features, Join. We select the two parts we want to join into one part and accept it. We still have our original components, but they now have been hidden. If we open the newly generated component, we'll see one solid body containing all geometry. Let's take a quick moment to review this session on utilizing geometry from another part. The first thing we talked about was inserting a part into another part and then positioning it using the Move Copy feature. And then we talked about two methods of subtracting these bodies from each other. First, we talked about using the Combine feature to subtract one body from another, and then we went into using the Indent feature to accomplish the same thing with different options. After that, we accomplished the same thing in the context of an assembly while maintaining parametric linking using the Cavity tool. Finally, we showed how the Join feature can combine components into one part. That's it for this session. In the next session, we're going to be discussing cleaning up geometry using the Delete Bodies and Delete Face features.